What if you could be coached by two of the top coaches in America on two specific things necessary for your success: confidence and comebacks? What I was doing, Tim, was just welcoming people to as they join us right here. Lake and Hibden is on here to help us should we need anything. And today, guys, we're excited about having you on confidence and comebacks. I was talking, Tim, what I was saying was if you had to pick one topic that is prevalent to everybody on planet Earth, it's confidence, right?
This is it right here. You know, I'm being totally honest. In all the projects that I'm involved with and the humanitarian work and everything, I am so excited about what we're doing together. And it can just change people's lives.
Yeah.
And you're exactly right. People need that confidence and that conviction that they can get through this trying time.
And, you know, if there's one thing that we're going to give you, I think during this period, Tim and I have spent our entire lives coaching people. We have developed mental constructs. We have developed models. We have seen patterns and tendencies. We are going to be able to help you. And Tim, I was thinking about this too. There's not a person on this call that hasn't had a setback. And to the degree of that setback, it's all relative, right?
It's all relative.
It's all relative. And so we've all had setbacks in life. And we're going to show you during these coaching session, these 4 weeks, exactly how do we take the setback and make it a comeback. And so the way
one of the things I will see if you'll consider, I was thinking about that this morning, is that with the people that have joined this course, congratulations, because some things you do out of your surplus, where the money's just there, you just take it, you do it. Some is out of your sacrifice. But after hearing the course today, we're going to challenge you at the end because, Coach, we're going to have 3 sessions left. And I think a lot of you know somebody that needs to be on this course. And once you hear the first course that we do, there are going to be 2 or 3 people that you could reach out to and just say, I'm telling you, this is a must for your life, because this is cause a lot of people to pivot, and it's one decision that can change the next 10 years of your life.
Yep.
So I'm so excited about this.
Well, and I think what we're going to do is I'm going to coach about 20 minutes on confidence. Then we're going to take some questions. Then Tim's going to come in and coach on comebacks. We're going to take questions. We're here for you guys. This is your course. Ask any questions you want to ask at any time. We'll take those questions. But what I want to give you is a formula. And as Tim said, people are going to continue adding into this. People are going to continue being part of this. So if you know people that this can help, please, we encourage you. Guys, we've honored the pricing, so we want to go ahead and help you there. So let's get started today, because this is about you. When I was 25 years old, I was a high school basketball coach. I was producing at a pretty high level. I had just come off a 28-3 season. I thought I had met the woman that I was supposed to marry. And as they tell you, you just know, right, Tim? I've heard people say that you just know, right? You just know. And well, I knew. And I'm a faith-based person. I said, this is the woman God has sent to me. Like, this is it. And so for a year we dated, and she was the best girlfriend in the world. She came to my games. She had the cutest little 5-year-old son, and we just became a little family very quickly. And about a year into that, she began being somebody that I didn't know. She wanted to go out to clubs. She wanted to run around and be wild. And I just couldn't, right? I just couldn't understand what was going on. Okay. Make sure we're hearing you. Okay. I'll make sure we're not freezing up on anything. You there? All right. So a year into this, I do what a person typically does there is I go to the store and I buy an engagement ring. Right? I get a credit card and I buy a $5,000 engagement ring. Okay. And I went to the lockbox and I put it in the lockbox and it sat there, and I had the date I was going to propose to her. And between the time I bought the ring, and I bought it out of scarcity, I bought it out of losing, thinking I was going to lose her. Now, here's my first big lesson for you today. Anytime you play not to lose, you guarantee losing. Anytime you play from a scarcity mindset of losing something, you hold on too tight, you push too hard, you play not to lose. So I started playing not to lose. I'm just worried about it. I want to talk to her every second. I want to know what's going on with her. I'm completely right. And we meet one day, and I said, man, I got to know. I call her best friend because that's what men do. They call her best friend. And I said, now what's going on with her? And I remember it like it was yesterday, guys. They said, don't ask the question if you don't want to know the response. Of course, that made me want to ask the question even more. So I called a meeting, and we go up to a restaurant, and we meet, and we sit down. I got the engagement ring in my pocket because I stopped by the bank to get the ring. And she looks at me and she says, Michael, I love you, but I don't love you enough to marry you. And guys, I was devastated. Okay. And I'm telling you this because you need to understand where my conviction about confidence comes from. Right? I almost get emotional just talking about it, because in some ways, Tim, I'm still sitting back at that Mexican restaurant getting my heart broken. You follow what I'm saying? At some ways, my mind goes back there all the time. And I've got a good friend that says, hey, you're sitting at that Mexican restaurant right now, aren't you? Because I'm remembering that failure. Confidence is the memory of success. People that are not confident remember failures. They don't remember their successes. And so when I'm sitting there, so I was so weak in my confidence during that period of my life, guys, that here's the things I actually said to her. I said, well, how much do you have to love someone to marry them? I know people that are married right now that don't like each other at all. This is how pitiful I was. This is embarrassing.
That's funny.
But it's true. I said it. I said, how much do you have to love somebody? Right. Then I go, hey, then I'm going making all of these excuses. Right. And that day I allowed her to break my heart. I had my heart broken. I walked out of there. I was crying. I went and saw my mother. I'm a grown man. I go see my mom, and I'm crying. My mom's like, what's wrong with me? And for 6 months, guys, I was completely devastated. I was clinically depressed. I was on antidepressants. I had never been on antidepressants in my life. I was a strong person. Tim, I actually saw people that were depressed as weak up until that time in life. I thought they were weak. I thought I was strong and they were weak. Well, now here I am depressed, and I'm going through this cycle, and I lose every bit of my confidence. I question everything. Am I a good coach? Am I a good person? Will I ever get married? I threw up every morning. I thought I had caused this breakup. What I'm learning, though, is that here's the thing I want every person on here to take away from this. Never place your destiny in another person's hands. Never allow another person to stand between you and your destiny. Okay? Tim owns his own company, and I own my own company. Okay? I have salespeople, a team. I have people around me. But at the end of the day, my destiny is not in their hands. It's in my hands. I can't place my destiny. This is the same thing I'm telling you about confidence. When you give up your confidence to anybody else outside of you, your spouse, your friends, your kids, your coworkers, that, in my opinion, that confidence is in danger. I want you to think of confidence as there's a safe, right? Here's my safe. And I'm the only one that has the key to that safe. And I'm putting my confidence in this safe, and I'm never going to give it up to anybody else, because when you allow another person to control your confidence, you are effectively disempowering your own self, and you're allowing another person to control you. Okay. And that is a bad place to be. Now, I learned.
Good. Great teaching. Great teaching.
Thank you. I learned that by having my heart completely broken. And if you study the whole person, body, mind, heart, and spirit, when a person has their heart broken or their spirit crushed, they disengage. They shut down. Many of you on this call have had your heart broken or your spirit crushed, right? I had given my heart. So my heart and my spirit were crushed. I'm asking the hard questions, right? How could God let this happen to me? I thought this was the woman I was supposed to marry. I'm a good person. I go to church every week. I'm doing good things. I'm helping kids. I went through this whole thing, which is teaching me a lesson. Never say, why me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? See, why me is a victim mindset. What is this trying to teach me is a proactive mindset? There's a reason. I'm learning a lesson here. Okay. And sometimes some of your toughest memories become some of your greatest moments come from your toughest memories. Okay. So what if I told you guys today that was the best thing that ever happened to me? What if I told you that I wouldn't be the Coach Burt I am today, the super coach, if I hadn't gone through that? What if I told you that I built an unbreakable confidence as a result of that period? Okay. I came back and wrote the book on swag. So what is confidence? Confidence is the one thing that affects everything. It is either your greatest asset or it is your greatest liability. Assets add, liabilities subtract. Okay. Confident people won't risk an opportunity. They pursue uncomfortable situations and they will try anything. They're open to anything, closed off to nothing. Okay. Insecure people contract and retreat to a place of comfort and security. Does everybody see that? Confident people are open to anything, closed off to nothing. Tim Storey brings me an idea. Confident people are like, you know what? We can figure out a way to make that work, Tim. Like King David in the Bible. It's going to be a fight, but we're going to find a way to win. Right? Like that's the mindset. Confident people come into everything like there is no limitation. That we can do it.
Very good.
With you in my corner, with my confidence, there is nothing that we can't do. That's how confident people think. Insecure people see everything as a risk. They can constantly contract. Economy's bad, I contract. I would tell you contraction is very seldom the answer to anything. What you want to do is push out, exert. Now, please don't misunderstand me. Sometimes people misunderstand me when I say this. They think, are you saying I got to spend more money? No, I'm not saying that. Exert more effort. Exert more positive energy into the universe. Exert, right? Work your networks deeper. When I'm saying expand, I'm saying confident people come into every day and expand. Here's what I figured out during this period. In tough times, strong people get stronger. I'm coaching 1,000 people a month, guys. I'm telling you, I'm seeing the trends. In tough times, strong people get stronger. Had a guy tell me yesterday, he said, man, I'm following your stuff on confidence and I figured something out. I'm tough enough to get where I am, but I ain't tough enough to get what I want. Isn't that good? Mm-hmm. He said, I've been tough enough to get where I am today, but I'm not tough enough to have what I want. And I thought that was so good. So when you're thinking about confidence, what we're really trying to do is build an indestructible confidence in you. Now, right? Like we want to build a confidence in you that is hard to break. So what was my mistake at 25? I put all of my confidence into another person. She decided all of my self-worth. She did, not me. Okay. Now today, no other person decides my self-worth. Okay. Some people will like it. Some people won't like me. So what? Tim, I didn't get a TV show once, like a bar rescue TV show, because they didn't like my Southern accent and I wasn't tall enough.
They were wrong.
And I said,
they were wrong.
I don't know how to make myself taller. Okay. Now, here's my point. When I didn't get it, I was shook. I wasn't shook up because I said, hey, some will, some won't. So what? They don't control my confidence. I do. I allowed her to destroy my confidence. I didn't understand that conflict is necessary for expansion. Right now, I think conflict is necessary for expansion. Internal conflict. Okay. Conflict, like real emotion in life doesn't come from passion. Real emotion comes from conflict. Real emotion. See, you can feel my emotion. This is, 18, 19 years later, you can still feel my passion for this. You can feel my energy because of that heartbreak. That's the best thing ever happened to me. So what I did is I decided that I would build a very, very strong confidence. Now, many of you are in transition right now in life. Okay. And I want to give you 3 phases of transition that I think are real critical. And this is where I think Tim is better than anybody in the world at helping people through transition. And I guarantee he's seen these cycles. Number 1, there is an ending of something. Okay. There's an ending of something. And many times you didn't want that ending, right? You didn't ask for that ending. You didn't want that ending. Okay. But it ended. Something in your life ended. Okay. Right now, sleep has ended for me because I have a 5-week-old son. Okay. That's transition. That's transition, right? There's something that's ended. Some of my freedom is now ended. Okay. Now, so there's an ending of something. Some of you gone through breakdown, divorce, heartache, loss of loved ones, loss of job, loss of something that was stable in your life. After the ending of something, there is a confusion and disorientation period. So you go through a season where everything is upside down. For me, at 25, I was depressed, couldn't get out of bed, couldn't eat, everything. I was a head coach, and I couldn't be a good head coach because I was so, right? I was disoriented. And here's what I tell you, and Tim, I think you'll like this, because I coached people in the prison system in Tennessee for 4 years to rehabilitate them. And here's what I figured out. When we're low on confidence, we go back to old habits in new ways.
That's so good. So true. Because you're going to have to be confident in something. So they'll go confident, become confident in their lower nature and their lower standard.
Right.
Very good. I like that.
So they would come out of prison. They would go right back to people that got them into prison. They go right back to old habits because they didn't have confidence. They didn't have a driver's license. They didn't have money. We go like, right. This is why you go back to old girlfriends and old boyfriends. And when people get divorced, they go back and date somebody from the past because we go back to old habits in new ways. Okay. This is a very critical time during transition. Okay. Because this is a time I think people make bad decisions. Ending of something, disorientation, right? And that disorientation, now what we're trying to teach you is how to make that disorientation period collapse. Instead of being knocked down for 6 months, you're knocked down for 3 days because you're going to get knocked down. Okay. I get knocked down. Tim Storey gets knocked down. We get knocked down, but our bounce back, our comeback is faster. Okay. So what we're trying to do is build that muscle in you. So when you get knocked down, boom, good. Let me use that. Let me use that raw material. The good part of transition is then there's a new beginning. Then there's a new beginning. Now here's the good news. When you get through the new beginning, it can be so wonderful, man. Because now you got the raw materials that you need. Now you got the raw materials that you need to really do something big. Okay? So I want you to think of a whole person. Body, mind, heart, spirit. The body represents skill. The mind represents knowledge. The heart represents prey, drive, and passion. And the spirit represents confidence, belief in a higher power. Well, when you understand without confidence, what good is it to have skill with no confidence? Right? What good is it to have knowledge with no confidence? What good is it to have desire without confidence? Confidence is the caboose to knowledge, skill, and desire. If you came to me today and said, I lost all of my confidence, I said, we got to go to work on building your knowledge, building your skill, building your desire. Then you're going to be confident. Feel good about your body, you're going to be confident. If you're prepared, you're going to be confident. If your skill is strong, you're going to be confident. If your work ethic is strong, you're going to be confident. See, when people are not confident, I got some people right now that I'm working with, they don't feel good about their body. Therefore, they don't feel good about their confidence. I got people that are underprepared. Therefore, they come into the day and they don't feel good about their confidence. I got people that know they're not putting the work in. They don't feel good about their confidence. Confidence is the memory of success. Okay, so let me give you a couple definitions of confidence, and then we're going to stop and take a few questions. I was speaking in New York City. You know, I got this Southern accent, Tim, and I was speaking in New York City, and I was so worried that people in Boston and New York City wouldn't like my Southern accent. This is when I first got started many years ago speaking, and I stood up in front of a full audience one day, and I said, confidence is the memory of success. And this woman on the front row just kept looking at me, and she seemed to be getting more mad and more mad and more mad. And she came up to me on the break, and, you know, in New York City, they're a little bit more direct than they are in Nashville, Tennessee, right? And
that's true.
And she came to me and she said, I got a bone to pick with you, coach. And I said, yes, ma'am. She said, your definition of confidence sucks. And I said, what? I mean, what do you mean? You told me confidence is the memory of success. Here's what she said. She said, I hadn't had any success. All I remember is failure. I hadn't sold anything in 90 days. My life is not working. All I've had is failure. She said, you need a new definition of confidence. Now, That is what a psychologist would tell you the definition of confidence is, the memory of success. I learned that from a sports psychologist who was a Major League Baseball pitcher. And I started thinking about what she said, and I go, okay, confidence is a memory of success. Insecurity is a memory of failure, right? Never let your past hold your future hostage. Always make your future bigger than your past. Well, here's the deal. What if confidence, let me give you another definition of confidence. Because if you're on the call today and you're like, man, I hadn't had any success, I'm coming to you guys to get it. What if I told you you can borrow confidence from other people when you don't have any? See, every morning I listen to a sermon, some of my favorite pastors, I'm borrowing confidence. I listen to some of the best business people in the world, I'm borrowing confidence, right? Sometimes I talk to certain people, maybe a coach that's coaching me, I'm borrowing. Even when I'm low on my swag, I can borrow some from somebody who's got a bunch of it.
So powerful.
Yeah. So think of confidence as an internal knowing. This is very important because next week I'm going to show you how to build it. Then I'm going to show you how to protect it. Then I'm going to show you how to maintain it. Then I'm going to show you how to get it back once you've lost it. Okay? So here's the deal. Confidence is an internal knowing that I can create or manifest what I see in my imagination. Okay? So I ask people, where does your future live? And it seems like a trick question. And they always say inside of me. And I say, well, it lives in your imagination, right? You have an imagination. That's where your future lives. I can't see your future. My wife can't see my future. My kids can't see my future. My coworkers can't. The only person that can see it's me and God, right? And so here's my question. Will I become self-disciplined? The word discipline is a derivative of the word disciple. Give yourself to a person or cause you believe in. Here's my question for people watching us. Will you become a disciple to your own future? Will you have the self-discipline to do what it takes? I have an internal knowing I can create or manifest what I see in my mind. That's confidence. Even when other people tell me I can't. And my final definition, this is a new one. It is a distribution of your unique ability to the right audience with feedback in the form of love, money, recognition, referrals, or affirmation. See, I'm more confident when I distribute my message to the world and the right people give me feedback. Man, that's good, coach. Man, I like that, coach. Man, you changed my life, coach. Now, what happens is that compounds my confidence. I am distributing my God-given talent to the world, and the world is then rewarding me in the form of love, affirmation. If I distribute a little bit of my talent, the world comes back and says, man, is that all you got? Man, is that all you got? Because when you distribute a little bit of talent, you get a little bit in return. It's like, hey, here you go. You're just a little bitty baby star, right? You're just a little baby star, right? So this is what we're going to be focusing on. So let's stop there, Tim, and let's take some questions on confidence. We kind of set the stage.
Let me just say this, as they're about to come on, just fantastic. I mean, you get into this idea, coach, about do not play to lose.
Yeah.
With COVID-19, when you watch the news all day, it can so get into your mind and into your spirit.
Yes.
To play, not to lose.
Yes.
But you're teaching us that even in the midst of COVID-19 and everything going through, that we can have the utmost confidence. Is that true?
Absolutely. Because confidence is not predicated by an external factor. See, that's the big thing I want people to take away, is that if I put my confidence in the economy, if I put my confidence in the news, if I put my confidence in other people, that violates the first principle. Never allow another person to stand between you and your destiny.
Okay, as you're getting ready to ask questions or even comment on what you learned, one more thing I want to bring up about Coach Burt teaching, just phenomenal. How about this one? Confidence is the memory of success. And I see that in a lot of athletes that I get around. And coach, if you had during the, let's say in the NFL, they've had 2 bad games in a row. It's really hard for them to break that mindset.
Yep.
I remember one famous football player, he had dropped a couple touchdown passes as a wide receiver. And he said to me, Tim, I'm almost hoping the quarterback doesn't throw me the same pass because I've dropped 2 in a row. So you would have said what to that player?
I would have reminded him of greatness. See, if you really study confidence, like I have all of these reminders, right? Like if you look at my office, I got reminders of me speaking at 10X or me winning a championship. A lot of times I wear my championship ring. It's a reminder that takes me back to a moment in my life, Tim, of me reminding myself, I know how to win. I know how to win, right? So I would remind him, remember what made you great. Remember doing this. Remember doing that. Because a lot of people,
so good,
what they do is they remember their failures. Now, here's what's interesting, Tim. When I had that bad breakup, here was part of my problem. I didn't remind myself of any of the bad. I didn't remind myself of her cheating on me. I didn't remind myself of her hanging out in the bars. All I could remember was the good, how sweet she was and how good the moments were. It's an interesting thing because when I was going through this period, I could only remember the good. I didn't remember all the bad, which only affected my confidence even more. Well, I'm telling you, confidence is the opposite. What you should remember about your past is a time when you did win, a time when you were at your highest peak. That is when confidence is that memory of success. And it happens. And we're going to show you how to build it. So I don't want you to think we're going to operate up here. I'm going to show you, here's how I build my confidence every day. Here's my morning routine. Because when I show up at 8 a.m. at my office, my confidence is high because I've already won some battles in the morning. And we're going to be talking about that. So let's take some questions. And then we're going to let Tim do his thing and coach on comebacks. And I'll call on some people. If anybody would like to raise their hand or me to call on them, you could post it in the chat box if you want to take any questions, or I can call on you can ask the questions, right? Joseph Mendoza said, so powerful. Great takeaway, D. D said, confidence is a memory of success. Insecurity contracts. Trust me. I'm coaching a lot of people, D. And the number one thing, insecure people. Listen, in tough times, strong people get stronger. Sometimes weak people get weaker. And what we got to do is we got to help you be one of those strong people in strong times. Okay. Gabby Garrett, how you doing? Are there any questions on the first piece of the confidence? We're laying the foundation. We're putting the bricks on there, Tim, right? We're laying the foundation for the house of confidence. Okay. Tasha Clark.
What a great start.
The house of success, guys, is built one brick at a time. Y'all remember that. Confidence is built one brick at a time. What was the third phase of transition? I only call it the first two. Ending, disorientation, new beginning. Ending, disorientation, new beginning. The faster we get you to the new beginning, the faster we get that comeback, in my opinion, right?
Yes, but there's no doubt about it.
There's deep value in that disorientation period. It forces you to do the heavy lifting. Forces you to know you. Most people are strangers to their own self. They're not confident because they don't even know their own self. They're solely at the opinion. I'm really working on this with my daughter, my 7-year-old daughter, is that, you know, I can tell right now I'm trying to teach her that confidence is hers because sometimes she plays with other friends and they're not nice to her or she's mean to them and she comes home crying. And I'm trying to say, look, they don't control your confidence. You control your confidence. This is tough to teach a 7-year-old because she thinks if they
I love that.
Right? If they reject her, she's not good enough. That's what she's thinking, is they're rejecting her. And we'll get into this concept of rejection. So, Tim, we're going to keep going. You coach them on comebacks. I'm going to sit here and take notes, and then we'll take questions at the end.
I am ready. Number one, fantastic, Coach Burt. That's why you're the best at what you do. So one of the things that happens when we're little is we start with a word called momentum. I want you to write that word down, momentum. The word momentum means an energy, a force. It's also a power. It's a strength. It's drive, and it's speed. So you have energy, force, power, strength, drive, and speed. So because I've been doing this for a long, long time, I have the privilege to be around a lot of psychologists and psychiatrists and dialogue with them about some of my concepts. So I was talking to a leading child psychiatrist in Beverly Hills. He's done many, many famous cases. And he says, Tim, I agree with what you're saying. He says, in children, there is a momentum that's there. even if they've been through difficult things. He said, even if they've been molested, even if they've been abused, he said the energy they have may not be outward. It may not be verbal, but usually it's still internal, where that internal energy or momentum may be like, get me out of this house.
Yes.
Or get me out of this place. And so there is some form of momentum. So if I was to say to you that when you were born, you came out with force, I would be correct. Because most of us know that in most cultures, and again, I've been to 75 countries of the world, and I've talked to many, many people from different cultures, is that when a baby comes out of its mother's womb, the baby will usually scream. In some cultures, they will hit the baby, spank them, and make sure they scream, and part of it is to clear everything out, okay? So I like to say this, is that you come out with a shout. So you start with a shout, S-H-O-U-T. So you start with a shout. But if you're not careful, there will be challenging things that come to your life, okay, that try to knock the shout out of you. So there are various things that come to your life early on that try to knock the shout out of you. It can be rejection. I have this in my notes. It could be rejection. People at school don't like me. It could be an illness. My next door neighbor, Freddie, he was 8 years of age. He struggled with asthma. And so he was already dealing with a challenge that was trying to knock the shout out of him at 8 years of age. So it could be rejection. It can be an illness, as Coach Burt just talked about. For many, many kids, it's confidence. That's why confidence and comebacks goes together. You're going to see this throughout the 4 weeks, okay? So all of us can go back into times of our childhood where we had energy, force, power, strength, drive, speed, velocity, and it could be in the area of you were a good reader, or you were good at putting together model airplanes. I knew a kid in my neighborhood named Danny. He was phenomenal at putting together model airplanes, and we would all want to come and see what model he did. I mean, he could do from cars to big ships, and I mean, he was amazing. He was only 11. And so we start with this momentum, but watch how powerful this is. Many times a life interruption comes, okay? Now, let's break this word down, interruption, because as you'll see the next 4 weeks, this is not just inspiration. We are going to teach you and give you principles and guidelines to live by that you can carry this course until the end of your life. So an interruption is an interference. Write this down, interference. Number two, it is an intrusion, intrusion, I-N-T-R-U-S-I-O-N. It's an intrusion. And let me just break this down. Some of us have been in situations where we've been robbed before. It's happened to me 2 times when I was on the road, and that I had some things that were valuable to me in my room. Both times I was in nicer hotels, and somebody got into the room and stole some of my valuables. One time, Coach, I even had them in the safe. And so one time they were able to find out who did it, because I had the camera system. The other time, they didn't know. But it was not a good feeling, because I came into my room and I saw that my bag at that time, which was a suitcase, had been thrown around. And I said, that's not how I keep my things. And sure enough, there were some things that were taken. including a laptop, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, that intrusion did not feel good. So there are some of you that have taken this course where life interruptions have hit you in the form of an interference, an interruption, but an intrusion. Something got into your life and stole from you, okay? It could be a woman you could not wait for your wedding date, and then you found out 2 months later you done married a fool. And that is an intrusion. You trusted him, you opened up your life to him, and there has been an intrusion, okay? Those intrusions, I'm going to tell you, are some of the hardest to ever come back from, because I locked my door in the hotel. I was very careful where I put my things. The second time, after being robbed the first time, 2 years later, I had my valuables in the safe and they broke into the safe. So there was an intrusion that was at different dimensions, okay? So life interruption could be an interference, okay? An intrusion, but watch this. It can also be an interception. Oh my goodness. Coach Burt is gonna really know about this. We have seen some good high school football games.
Yep.
Man, that team is marching down the field, and that young quarterback, high school, has got the spirit of Tom Brady on him. And then all of a sudden he throws an interception. And the kid gets it, the defensive back or a safety starts running it the other way. Okay, that's what's happened to some of our lives. We had that momentum, and there was an interception.
I feel it.
And they went the other way. And not only did life go the other way, they did it like Deion Sanders. When he would intercept it, Coach, you remember this?
Yeah.
He'd be running the 20, the 10, and he would just watch me. He would just start kicking up his knees and just running into the end zone. Okay, so, man, some of us have had some setbacks.
Yep.
And we had momentum, energy, force, power, strength, drive, speed, velocity. And all of a sudden, an interruption hit, an interference, an intrusion, but that interception. And in that interception, it looks like life just hightailed it the other way.
Yep.
So in my life of being a life coach, here's what I find. People want to tell me about these areas. Tim, you're right, there was a life interruption. Yeah, there was an interference. This thing happened, and then this thing took place. You're right, there was an intrusion. There was an intrusion. When I married my husband, I did not know what I had to deal with his ex. There was an intrusion. But Coach, they love to talk to me about the interception.
Yeah.
I was doing well, and then I got fired.
Yep.
I was doing well, and then I hurt my knee. I was doing well, then someone stole money from me. So it's a life interception where you have momentum go one way, and all of a sudden it shifts. And Coach will get into this in a moment, because we're going to always work together these next few weeks. This is beautiful. Is that when you have momentum and you have this confidence that Coach is teaching about, and you're marching down the field of life, and then all of a sudden you have a life interception, I'm going to tell you right now, that is very difficult to come back from.
Yeah.
Because you have the momentum, and now you have a momentum shift, okay? And just because this gentleman doesn't mind me talking about it, because he's my good friend, let's take Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen, young actor, did well, had some great hits. He was in a movie called Platoon. He was in a movie, Wall Street, with Michael Douglas. I mean, a star. But he started having some life interruptions, life interferences, okay, life intrusions, to the point where he told me, Tim, I then started sabotaging myself because I didn't want to get too excited about what could happen next, because I was afraid of that life interception where life would take me the other way. So even though I would get a break and something good would happen, I would set myself up for the next interception. And coach, you know this as well as me. There are some quarterbacks that once they've thrown one interception, it gets in their head.
Yep.
And they start thinking, I'm gonna throw another interception.
Yep.
So in the midst of COVID-19, some of you are thinking that you've thrown an interception and life has taken you the other way. Okay. Or maybe even you threw a good pass, but life intercepted it and taken you the other way. I'm telling you right now, the next few weeks, we're going to reverse this curse.
That's good.
We are going to reverse this curse and teach you that you don't have to sit there. Now, when most people have this kind of life interference, what they do is they realize they're in a setback.
Yep.
And when they have a setback, these are the things they usually do. Number one, they sit in the setback. Number two, they settle in the setback. And number three, they cement themselves in the setback. And so I believe that you have a lot of friends that need to take this course next week, because they are sitting, they are settling, and they are cementing themselves in the setback. They have gone from the posture of momentum, of energy, where they were a force, a power, a strength, a drive, and now they have decided to sit. Sitting is the position of I am going nowhere. And some of us that have pets know you could take your dog for a walk, and when certain dogs are done, they're gonna sit. Some of you take your husband for a walk. When he is done, he's gonna sit. You can take a 3-year-old for a walk, and when they are done, they're gonna sit, or they're gonna say, carry me. So some people sit in a setback. Coach, you're gonna love this. Some people settle in a setback. Now, to settle, man, have I done some research on this. To settle in a setback is a very interesting place to be, because that's when people make a choice and they just start realizing, I think I have decided to be a discount version of myself. I have decided to be a discount version of myself. I have decided to live in what I call the land of okay. So when you settle, here's what you do. You compromise. Write this down. You compromise. Number two, you minimize. You minimize. See, everything out of Coach Burt, man, when I saw him teach at 10X and just blow up that stage over 10,000 people, he was talking about a big life, okay? He's a big dreamer when he's working with his team, big dreamer, big thinker when he's talking to his children, big thinker, big dreamer when he's walking through his neighborhood and talking to us on Instagram and Facebook. Big dreamer. But here's what happens. Many times people in a setback, they sit and they settle, they compromise, and they minimize. They minimize. Bring it down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down. You always find an audience that agrees with you when you decide to minimize.
Yep. Good.
Let's say you're a person and you live in another part of the United States and you decide to come to Hollywood, and you've tried it here for a long time and it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of friends back home you can call and they're going to tell you to minimize, come back home. I was having lunch with Brad Pitt's mother one time, and she told me, Tim, so many of Brad's friends said, Brad, give up. You're not going to make it. Yeah. It's not working. You need to minimize. I'm here to tell you, Brad Pitt just kept going on in this confidence. He is so well known. I told Brad's mother recently, I said, do you realize I was on a ride in Disney World in Florida and your son is part of the ride? And she said, I heard about that. There's a ride having to do with Hollywood and Brad Pitt's there.
Yeah.
So Bradley Pitt, she calls him Bradley. Bradley had setbacks, and then he could have minimized, and then a movie came around. She told me the story called Thelma and Louise.
Yep.
And he played a part in that, and he shined and sparkled that he came back. Now, Katy Perry's parents, who are great friends of mine, told me this. Katy, same thing. Record deal, didn't work. Tried to make it, wasn't working. Now, she was soon to become a pop star 10 years later, but everybody that she was talking to back home was saying, minimize, compromise. Here's the next word, conform. Oh boy. Woo! I'm so glad they're taking this. But what do they want us to conform to, Coach Burt? Watch this. They want us to conform to the norm. Conform to the norm. Conform to the norm. People like us don't do that. People like us don't do this. Now, Coach has his story. I have my story. Born in Compton, California. I was born right in the Compton hospital. They brought little Timmy home to that spacious apartment. 7 people in a 2-bedroom apartment in Compton. Who would think that I'd have an office someday on Cannon Drive in Beverly Hills and start helping Charlton Heston and Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau and Lee Iacocca, and later move on to the biggest young stars in the world, even to the present day. Who would have thought it? You would have thought that in the midst of my family setback, I should have just conformed to the norm.
Yeah.
So the challenge in your life, and I'm going to speak 2 more minutes and then open this up, is that when you have a setback, you're going to be challenged to sit in it, settle in it, and then thirdly, to cement yourself in it. To cement yourself in it is when you decide to make it permanent. You decide to make it permanent. You make it so permanent, you now have a story for it. So how you doing? Well, I was doing well. Then you know that I married Betty, and I didn't go too well. Then I married her cousin, Lucy. She was meaner. She was meaner than Betty. If you decide to cement yourself, you're going to have a story to tell about it. You're going to rock in the rocking chair. I could have been, watch. I would have been. I should have been. Had it not been for, you're going to sit, you're going to settle, and you're going to cement yourself. But what we're going to teach you the next few weeks is how to rise up from that setback and how to walk with confidence. Coach Burt, why did that fire you up a little bit?
Well, it fired me up in a number of ways, because I had you were talking about, married the wrong person. I had a young country music singer send me a song that she wrote the other day. and the song title was, I Do, I Did, and Now I Don't. She said, what do you think about this song?
Okay, I got to write that down.
I do, I did, and now I don't. Now, I told her, I said, that's going to resonate with a lot of people, girl. That's what I told her. That's going to resonate with a lot of people. I said I do, I did it, and now I don't. Now, here's what I heard from him. The momentum. I love the concept because we just had a child. And, you know, the child comes out with force, starts crying. It's got momentum. The child is pure potential, knows no boundary, knows no limit until we force a limit, right? Until we say, don't do it. It reminds me of a book.
Wow.
You reminded me of a book I wrote many years ago called Small Towns and Big Dreams. Here's the only problem. Nobody in small town would buy it. Because I came from a small town and I wrote this book. You know, here's how you go have a big dream. And I profiled people that done big things. Oprah Winfrey was one of the people I profiled. I profiled 4 or 5 people and said, these are people who came from small towns that did big things. Okay. So here's what I like about what you said. The conforming to the norm. When you settle, you compromise and you minimize. I wrote down, Tim, if I had conformed, I'd still be a high school basketball coach.
Wow, wow, wow.
There's some of you listening to this today. What he's saying is you're conforming, right? You got big dreams inside of you and you're letting everybody else around you tell you why you can't reach them. You can't go to Hollywood. You can't be big. People telling me why not just stay a high school basketball coach? Because I knew there was a bigger dream inside of me. I knew there was a
let's go there for a minute, because in the conforming is the comfortable. Yes. Because I know your story, because when you were a coach, number one, you were a winning coach and your salary was gradually moving up. You were getting the applause. Okay. So we want to many times stay where we're celebrated and not go where we might be tolerated.
Right.
So to conform to the norm many times is just to be comfortable in that spot. Yeah. Talk about that. Sometimes you got to step out of that thing that's comfortable.
Well, the biggest fight we're in right now, in my opinion, is a fight against complacency. Complacency, Tim is big on definitions. I am too. Complacency is a gradual settling to a place of mediocrity. Now, I know people that are settling right now that make $1 million a year. I know, because it's not in comparison to how much money you earn. It's in comparison to your potential. Okay. It's not so what you're doing is, I know people that are settling that have so much more potential than what they have. Potential, idea of kinetic energy that is stored until utilized. It takes confidence to manifest potential, right? So I used to tell, I want to speak directly to the people on here. When moms and dads dropped their daughters off to me at 14 years old, they said, Coach, my daughter's got a lot of talent or potential, idea of kinetic energy that is stored until utilized. And I would say to them, I got a tough question to ask you, but I got to ask you, is your daughter watching you reach your potential? And
that's powerful.
Those parents would go, oh, Coach. I'm like, is it not hypocritical for us to tell our children they have potential if they're not seeing us reach our potential? And we need to be showing our kids how to reach that we're still fighting. We're in the fight. I'm coaching a 74-year-old, a 70-year-old right now. I'm coaching people that say, man, I got another good swing in me, because they got potential, right? So when I was thinking about what you said about, you know, the compromise and the minimize and the conform and the comfortable, I was thinking about a bus driver that I had, Tim. I used to have this big 38-foot bus that had a big picture of Coach Burt on the side of it, right? Mm-hmm. And then when you become known, you don't want your picture or name on there, right? Now I want to just go and nobody know it's me in there. Now, here's my point.
Exactly.
Here's my point. I had a bus driver that got divorced 20 years ago, and he walked around with a broken spirit. And everywhere we went, we go to a restaurant and eat, and he would say things like this to the server. Oh, I don't want to bother you, or I don't want to be a bothersome to you. Like, oh, forgive me. His confidence. He walked around with a limp. And I said to him one day, man, you got divorced 20 years ago. Okay. And you are still allowing that person to control your confidence. He never would pursue anything. Anytime there was any conflict, he contracted because he felt rejected. Now, you're going to hear me say this during this course. I don't believe there's any such thing as rejection. I believe some will want what you have, some will not. So what? Right? If my wife wanted 6 foot, she wanted me to look like Brad Pitt, she wouldn't have wanted me. Okay? That's the truth. So I learned at 25 that there is no such thing as rejection. Some people will want what you have and some people won't. So what? If I go to
That's so good.
If I go to Chick-fil-A over another restaurant today, I'm not rejecting the other restaurant. I just wanted Chick-fil-A. Now, here's my point. Once you get this, that there is no such thing as rejection, if I call on Tim Storey to ask him to do something with me and he doesn't want to do that with me, that's okay. Somebody else will want to do it with me, right?
100%. I love that approach to life. And you know, I'm watching how we play off each other and how excited we both get because we know what we're teaching about works.
Yeah, that's right.
Because not only do we see it working for people's lives that we coach, but it's working for our own lives.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe somebody that wants to tell me what you learned from what I just talked about. Many times if I teach at a college or university, I ask, what did you learn? If there's something that you learned you want to get called on, just raise your hand or let Coach Burt's team know that you want to say something. Or if there's a question about a comeback. So when we meet next week, Coach, I'm going to teach them how to get out of that sit, settle, and cementing position. I'm literally going to give them 7 steps next week. So I cannot wait till next week. But if you have a comment or a question, we'll open the floor for you.
All right. Gabby Garrett said, what I picked up on was tolerated versus celebrated was different. The quote says, go where you're celebrated, not tolerated. Tim Storey used it and said, tell them the way you used it today, Tim, because you talked about going to where you're right, celebrated versus tolerated. How to talk about that? Because I think that's important.
Well, I think the thing is, in life, we all want to be celebrated. Even a 1-year-old, if you go to a 1-year-old's birthday party, they like clapping. Okay. But the reality is when you do the right thing in life, sometimes you're going to go where you're celebrated, but sometimes you're going to go where you're only tolerated. But that tolerated can turn into celebration. So like the same thing when he went to Hollywood as an actor, for a while he was just tolerated. It's like, hey, buddy, there's a lot of good looking guys. But they didn't realize they were dealing with Brad Pitt.
That's right.
It's like when I saw you at 10X with Grant Cardone's conference. He had so many amazing speakers there. And Coach Burt and I were walking from one place to another. When I saw him, I'm telling you this is the God's honest truth. I thought, he has something. I don't know what it is, but he has something. And that was that confidence that you teach about, that maybe they don't see it now, but it is going to unfold.
Yep.
Got to be patient, people. It's going to unfold.
Well, to your point, I've made a note, Tim, about this confidence, because you hinted on this. When you do have that moment, my moment was 10X. 10X brought me out to the world, guys. I was the most unknown person at 10X. I was the underdog, right? And when you have that moment, I wrote down, will you be confident to seize that moment? We did $1 million of business from me speaking at 10X, guys, in 1 hour.
That's the truth.
Okay. Now, let me ask you a question. I was an unknown. I was an underdog. Everybody knew Tim Storey and Grant Cardone and Ed Milet, but they didn't know Coach Burt. And people asked me, were you nervous? And here's what I said. I've been preparing my whole life for that moment.
So powerful.
Now, so we're going to get into, you don't build confidence overnight. You build confidence through a long obedience in the same direction. You build confidence by working the muscle. Okay, so I want to send you off with some assignments. And Tim, I want you to give them a few things for them to take on this first piece. Here would be my assignments for you. Number 1, what area of your whole person do you need to work on to be confident? Is it body? Is it mind? Is it heart? Or is it spirit? Is it body? Is it mind? Is it heart or spirit? Okay. Number two, who have you given your confidence up to and placed in another person's hands? Who have you given your destiny up to and let them control your confidence? Boss, spouse, friends, past, co-workers, right? I got a stepfather right now that's worked for 30 years in a job. They've come to him recently and said they're not going to give him his pension, some of his pension money, so he's freaking out. And I got to teach you, man, you can't put your destiny in other people's hands. Okay? And so here's the deal. We can whine about it. We can go through all the things Tim said, right? We can sit in the setback. We can sell in this setback. We can cement ourselves in that setback. But none of those things are going to solve this problem. Okay? So my second one is, who have you given your confidence up to? I think it's important. I had given my confidence up to that person when I was 25. And number three, I believe how you start matters. In the morning, my confidence is high because I have fed my body, my mind, my heart, and my spirit. I've listened to a sermon for my spirit. I've exercised for my body. I've seen my family for my heart, right? My body, my mind, my heart, and I'm coming to work. I'm training too. I'm listening to a business person on the way. By 8 o'clock, my confidence is high. How are your morning routines to start your confidence? Okay. Study the numbers. 87% of the wealthiest people in the world work out in the mornings. Okay. There's a trend. They get up, they get moving. I see Tim, you get up, you get moving. You're walking, you're moving around, you're getting yourself going, right? That you get your mind going.
I have to do it.
Because if you're low on confidence, you can't give away what you don't have. Okay. Tim can't give confidence if he doesn't have confidence. He can't give energy if he doesn't have energy. I made up my mind. I want to do big things on planet Earth. So I got to protect my confidence. It's my greatest asset. My confidence is my asset. If I lose my confidence, now I'll finish with this and Tim can give his assignment. I wrote a book called The Anatomy of Winning. Let's see. I know that book's around here somewhere, with a championship coach. And here it is right here. And this was a guy that won 10 championships. He used to kick my butt. Okay? For years. He was my nemesis. Couldn't figure out how to beat him. Yeah. Finally, in my 8th year, I figured out how to beat him. And we wouldn't speak to each other. We wouldn't look at each other. I mean, it was fierce competition. And then he went to college and I retired and we became good friends. And we wrote a book together called The Anatomy of Winning. And everywhere I went, people would say to me, that coach is so arrogant. He's so arrogant. And I would say to them, I spent 3 months traveling with him to write that book. And I said, the number one thing he has going for him is his confidence. If you take away his confidence, he's just a regular old coach. He's not a
Wow.
He's not a 10-time championship coach, guys. That is his greatest asset. Okay. Now, D. Kendricks has got a question. So let me call them, Tim. And I'm going to call, let me go here. Allow to talk. D.
I'm loving this.
You're on. What's your question?
Hello.
Hello.
So no question. I actually wanted to share what I thought I learned. So for me, I thought when Tim was speaking about the setbacks, and you don't really think about the emotional interruptions and interferences as something that comes at the same force as your momentum shifting you into the opposite direction. And so for me, it was a bit of an aha. And it's almost like you have to figure out how to not just regain that momentum, but enough momentum to figure out, where are you in that setback? Are you settling? Are you sitting? Are you cementing? To kind of leapfrog up. So for me, as I thought about my last year I've had some amazing highs, but I had an emotional interception, right? An interruption. And I couldn't figure out why. I felt like I was still existing within a fog, and it clicked for me today. And so I can tell that I'm making my way to the surface of the water, but for me, it was a good aha moment. And I quickly identified a couple of recent opportunities where I feel like I was justifying minimization and saying, no, maybe it's too much. Maybe I shouldn't take that on. So
yes,
share that.
Good. Okay, good to hear. And the beauty about this, Coach Burt, is that we're doing this for 4 weeks in a row.
Yes.
And we're just going to build and build and build and build. I mean, I got an entire manual sitting here to teach, and so do you. we've gone through the whole year teaching on this. This is what we do. So it's beautiful to hear that he's learning from this, but wait till we get into some steps on how to reverse, because there's some steps to reverse this thing. We're not just saying reverse it. No, we're going to take you step by step. So I have a little homework assignment. And one of the things I want to talk about is, in the homework, we talk about sitting, settling, and cementing yourself in a setback. And I want you to write down a time in your adult life that you feel like you have compromised, minimized, or conformed based on a setback. It could be a health setback, could be a relationship setback, financial setback, could be a setback having to do with your job, okay? So tell me about a time and describe it where you have compromised, minimized, or conformed to the norm, as we say, okay? So tell me about that. And then the other thing I'd like to know is I want you to tell me about a life intrusion. A life intrusion. I talked about being robbed. You're in the safety of a nice hotel, and 2 times over many, many years that I've been robbed. And one time, like I said, I had the things in the safe. When has there been a life intrusion? And I want you to write down how it affected you. I don't even want you to tell me how you got out of it, because next week I'm going to deal with some of the emotions of this. Because what I believe in dealing with some of the best psychologists, psychiatrists, some of the best spiritual leaders, is that when you have this intrusion, many times, Coach Burt, trauma comes with it.
Oh, it's good.
And I think some of you have not dealt with some of this trauma from the intrusion. Woo! Can't wait till next week. I'm going to talk about the trauma from the intrusion.
Man, that's good. Guys, this has been a great coaching session. We will send this back out to you. For everybody that's in here, we want you to go back and watch it. We gave you a lot of material today, a lot of content, a lot of great content. What we're teaching you are mental models, constructs, right? When I think about this comeback, I think about a departure away from the ideal scene. That's what I think about. Adversity is a departure away from the scene you had in your mind of how it's going to be. Now, how are you going to handle that? How are you going to handle that departure? My mama taught me, Tim, we don't whine, we don't complain, and we don't make excuses. Mama Burt taught me we don't whine, we don't complain, and we don't make excuses. So great session. We will be sending this back out to you along with some other things. So thank you for today, Tim. Great job as always. Love coaching with you. And if you got friends, guys, they can go back and get this replay. Let's keep going. Get them in. Get them into the coaching program. There should be, right? And I'm going to congratulate these folks, Tim. There were 750 to 1,000 people who showed interest in this program. These people took action. So we're going to be giving you some.
Could I say
action? Yes, sir.
Could I say one thing on this is that if each one would reach one, and all of you got touched, if each one of you got a friend to sign up and let them know what just took place, it's a community. Let's build this community and strengthen people, okay? You'll see some ads that we'll put out, but come on, reach a friend, build up a friend, a family member, someone within your household that needs this to change their life. Let's change our lives around. It's time for our comeback.
That's it. Signing off, guys. Thank you for a great first session. Have a great day. What if you could be coached by 2 of the top coaches in America on 2 specific things necessary for your success: confidence and comebacks?